This creepypasta is called House of Rules. I live in a house of rules. I should explain. I moved here 3 months ago, flat number 27. The flat was a repossession. I never met the previous owner, and to date, know him only from the post I received in his name. I could make up stories of him vanishing or screams being heard in darkness one night. I could make such exaggerated claims, but this is not a work of fiction, nor it is written to entertain. I had just gotten a new job, a promotion that I waited years for. This was meant to be the next step to greater things, but I needed to move quickly to save on a long drive each day. When I found this place, I was so overjoyed. It was well located and within my price range, and apart from being extremely run down and dirty, had so much potential. It's a duplex apartment, with a guest room and a spare bathroom on the ground floor, and a dressing room and several storage rooms on the top floor. The purchase of this, though, was a complicated one, due in part to the poor record keeping and the loss of deeds and plans of the house. What should have taken a month from start to finish took 4 times as long. Because of this length of time, I took several viewings, and each time was amazed by the windows and cupboards that I could not recall from previous visits. Rooms seemed to be bigger and lighter, and even more inviting. Even the estate agent was baffled that her property listing documents were constantly wrong. The neighbors in the block of the flats are a strange lot. They don't talk. They keep to routines and you can set a clock by. When I first moved in, I tried to invite them to a housewarming party because I was just so desperate to meet new people. No one came. They get in at the same time every day and never leave the house. I never heard them moving around at night. One of them, who was a nervous man from upstairs who constantly fidgets and glances around, apologized afterward. He explained his lack of attendance was simply because he wasn't allowed to. At the time, I presumed he meant by that was because of his wife, but now I'm not so certain, as he was the only one I got to know since the move. I did my best to become friendly and even felt like I was making headway. Then I made the mistake of asking about the previous owner, to which he made an awkward and short response before making his excuse. I have not seen or heard from him since. The rules, as I came to understand them, became apparent over time. The first was sleeping only in my bedroom. I slept once in the lounge on purpose, dozing off on the sofa, until I woke up to my arm trapped between the sofa and the wall. A wall that was several feet away when I closed my eyes a few hours earlier. I was overcome with a feeling, a very strange feeling, that I was somewhere I shouldn't be. This feeling wouldn't leave me until I hurriedly stumbled up to my bed, where I only felt truly safe when I hid under the blankets like a scared child. I only fell asleep once more in the lounge after that, by accident. I was woken up once again with a feeling that I should leave, that it would be unsafe to stay and I should not be here. This time, however, a sweater I left across the room was on the radiator, and that was tied around my neck. It was pulled so tightly enough to leave a striking mark on my throat. The rule of sleeping only in my bedroom stands alongside others. I learned that I should clean up my dishes immediately when I stepped out of the kitchen, after depositing my plate, and sat down on the safety pin that was jutted out the back of the sofa. I learned not to take showers for too long when the water suddenly turned scaling hot, and remained so, no matter how much I desperately tried to turn it off, and then was explicably normal temperature when I tried it moments after. I learned that I must keep the place tidy, that I must not waste electricity, and no matter what noise I hear at night, I should never ever explore. Another rule is that guests are not welcomed. The last time I had a guest, it was a friend who invited themselves by making arguments to come and see me until I relented. How could I not? Despite my concerns that I could not air down for the weekend, I spent the entire time terrified for their safety, and pretty much drove them away with my strange behavior accordingly. But there were no events. Such things made me bold and I began to relax. I stayed awake until late, played music at night, and did whatever I wanted, even going so far as feeling like I had triumphed, as the house remained meekly quiet. It was almost immediately after they left that I first noticed the headache and nausea, which became worse and worse as the gas leak continued. I only just made it out before I succumbed to it. I have so many things I could tell you, example after example, and I just don't know where to begin. I need you to look past your skepticism and see that this is real, and this is more of a coincidence and more than just a child's play haunting. I am not being haunted, I am being ruled. The rules are only part of it, and they are a part I play. The rest is done without me, and not only that, but around me. The walls shift, and doors open some days but won't the next. The number of windows in my bedroom increased one by one over consecutive nights, and then there was only one again. There is a cupboard at the top of my stairs that changes in size quite regularly. One of the most terrifying experiences of my life was when I opened it and saw it went back several meters more than I remembered. When I walked in, somehow the door shut behind me. I groped in the dark, silently reaching out for a wall I knew must be there. Yet my fingers only touched the air. I do not know how long I fumbled around for, but it was only as my panic attack rose that my shaking fingers found a wooden door. Have you ever woken up in a room with a chair sitting at the end of your bed? A chair that came from the dining room, which is down a flight of stairs and along a hallway. Have you ever walked into a room and seen a storage cupboard that was not there before? Have you ever observed more stairs on a staircase as you go down them than there was when you went up? Have you ever entered a room looking for something, and then when you gave up and left, realized that half an hour has already passed? I have lived all of these things, and were I a better, more scientific man, I would have kept a running log of all of it. I would have found proof I need to show the world that I am not crazy, that this is real, that this is a living nightmare. 5 hours have passed since I sat down to write this. I hope to prepare some lunch today and pray that there are no drawing pins in my bread, like last week when I realized I hadn't hoovered. Instead, it is getting dark. I now live a life of routine, like my neighbors. I just turn off the music. No loud noises after dark is one of the rules, and it is one of the rules that I hate the most, because it makes me feel so alone. Lights left on in the rooms that are empty, or too many in one room, are prone to fusing, or even shattering without warning. So I currently only have the glare of the computer screen, and television, and a lamp on. Soon I shall be going to bed, and the doors that shut behind me as I head up to bed lock, and I will wake up in a room with windows wherever they please, and doors that may or may not open to cupboards that can be as small or as big as each variation allows. The television in the room I am in has a satellite connection, and with it countless channels. Right now, all of them are in a fuzzy state of static, except for National Geographic, so I am forced to listen to a documentary on carnivorous plants as I type. I try not to dwell on the exhaustion of a beetle on the screen, as it tries in vain to escape from the prison that will soon digest it. The remote does not appear to work. It took my pulling the plug from the socket to turn the TV off just a moment ago, and even that I loathe to do, for the fear that it may stay on and never leave me. If those images had continued when the plug was removed, I would have screamed myself into madness. I could push the neighbors to talk more, I could rebel against the rules, I could start a fire and torch the whole building, but truly, I just want to get by. I get the feeling that up until now, I have simply been coached, like a dog, to do what is required of me. I feel like the punishments could get a lot worse. The occasional demonstrations of strength and enforcement of the rules, and the occasional mild punishment when I transgress, like one tap the nose of a dog when it misbehaves. That is when I hope for it I can behave. Stepping out of line causes me nothing but harm. It is only out of fear and preservation of my own human dignity that I do not explain here and what happens when the house feels like it really needs to punish me. Needless to say, the scar will be with me for the rest of my life. Which brings us to here. I cannot go on. I took the decision to write this with the remaining fight I still have in me, to at least ask for help. I cannot do it over the phone, I cannot write a letter, and my only hope is to write it into a story inconspicuously, and without the details that might draw attention to the content. All I can hope is that someone sees enough to spot my cry for help, and that they find a way to contact me where I can get a lifeline I need to escape. I cannot ask directly, it is too risky, and besides, any form of open rebellion has been snuffed out of me with pain and suffering and terror. I do fear for my own safety, for my punishment for breaking the rules, and I am surprised that I'm being allowed to even get this far. In over 1,000 words that I have written, there hasn't been a power cut or computer error that has lost everything. Perhaps there is still hope, but the truth is, I'm scared. Scared of what touched my face in my sleep the night before last after I accidentally left a tap running, clutching firmly the bruises on my cheek that still remain. I am scared of what left a pair of scissors in my slippers, or what power moves wooden doors and plaster walls seemingly at a whim. Most of all, I am scared that, by writing this, I may wake up in a tiny room with no doors or windows, a room that grows smaller every time that I blink.